Necromunda, a toxic wasteland of desolation and desperation, where power and loyalty are the keys to survival. In Hive Primus, an impossibly large structure of construction, detritus, and decay, live houses both great and infamous. While the upper houses enjoy lives of relative comfort, the lower must struggle for every scrap of refuse.
Keep up the pressure, girls. Our contact won't wait forever.
Often delving into the Underhive for supplies, technology, and power. When their objectives clash, so continue the Underhive wars. Before I continue, I'd like to personally thank all those who have subscribed to the channel so far. And if you haven't yet, please consider doing so and sharing our videos with your friends. Okay, let's start with a bit of an admission. I'm a huge Warhammer fan. It's one of those areas where I've long geeked out. On the flip side of the coin, I've been disappointed time and again with the indiscriminate nature of Game Workshop's licensing department. From the first software conversion I bought and enjoyed, seen here, to Necromunda, they've attached the names of some of their most beloved and revered entities to games both fantastic and awful. I had some solid hope for the video game version of Necromunda. After all, it was being put out by Focus Home Interactive, who had put out a shaky early access version of Mordheim, but pounded it into very respectable shape and supported it with expansions on multiple platforms. So what is it? Let's talk about the setting first. On the toxic wasteland world of Necromunda exists a collection of hives. These are impossibly gigantic aggregations of construction and dilapidation interconnected by a network of tunnels. Extending above the clouds and far below ground level is the capital hive, Hive Primus, which is also the setting for this game. Inside this gargantuan pile is the posher and more livable tier known as the Spire. Underneath that is the ground level mid-tier called Hive City. Beneath that, and all the way underground, is the Underhive, a vast and terrifyingly deep collection of machinery, relics, toxins, and waste. There is much more detail to be had in this lore-rich world, but the rule of thumb is the lower you go, the less livable and more toxic the environment, and the more Spartan the existence of its inhabitants. At Hive Primus's true foundation, deep underground, lies the Sump, which is effectively an impassable dead zone. Now the gameplay. Well, like Warhammer Fantasy, 40k, and Mordheim, Necromunda is a stat-heavy title with wonderfully detailed and expansive lore, but fortunately, unless you're really into min-maxing your characters, you don't have to micromanage them or know much about it. They intuitively work, and that's the sign of a good system. So let's talk about the play mechanics. The maps have all the labyrinthine, haphazard goodness of a dilapidated space hulk, but instead of tight, close quarters, Necromunda's maps are much more open and expansive. They contain not only greater verticality, but complementary skills to encourage its tactical exploitation. At the start of each map, up to 5 of your gang members may be tactically deployed to positions most advantageous to you, except during story mode segments where loadouts and positions might be predetermined. On each character's turn, it may perform feats by expending points from 2 pools, movement and action. Movement, as in Focus's interpretation of Mordheim, is wonderfully intuitive. The character can move freely anywhere within the orange circle, and once at the edge of the circle, its movement points are expended. But if you don't perform any actions, or you're acted upon, you're allowed to freely run about. This is terrific design. The other pool, action points, are expended carrying out activities such as attacking, mantling, reloading, and using skills. As the maps can be somewhat confusing, there are 2 useful ways to survey them. The first is the tactical view, which gives you a third-person survey of your surroundings, and this is extraordinarily useful for determining line of sight and gaining a tactical and intuitive sense of place. The second is the map view. This is a more traditional map, useful for finding reinforcement points, exit points, and all that. And just as you would expect from a Games Workshop title, there is vast depth and intricacy woven into the play mechanics. Stances, corruptions, overwatches, weapon jams, traps, and more keep the gameplay customizable and varied. Do you want to make an Orlok, long-range squad that specializes in trapping and disabling? You can do that. A gang of hulking Goliaths who overwhelm with strength and stamina? It's available, well-balanced, and most importantly, fun.
Wait! Come on, Kira. Move your ass.
In the campaign mode of Necromunda Underhive Wars, written by Necromunda creator and rulebook co-author Andy Chambers, you begin the story controlling members of the Bearcats, a gang affiliated with House Escher. Escher, one of 6 houses in Hive City, is primarily composed of females who excel in close-order combat and dexterity. As the story opens, your gang has been summoned by its leader, Tessaria, to carry out a mission deep into the Underhive to recover a newly uncovered piece of archaeotech. But you don't stay with them. The story is not only interesting and faithful to the source material, but serves as a surprisingly brilliantly constructed long-form tutorial that lets you experience controlling multiple classes and gangs of multiple houses while learning the intricacies of play. The game suggests you play through the story mode/tutorial before playing gang mode. Considering its author, one shouldn't be surprised that the following story conveys an authentic sense of desperation, savagery, betrayal, and Spartan loyalty by necessity.
Weak. You don't belong in the Underhive.
It'll give you a feel for the neighborly clashes that play out between the dexterous Eschers, the gene-forged Goliaths, and the good all-rounders, the Orlocks. Now, with these explanations and fundamentals of the game out of the way, the next subject will be the gang mode. And this is the true heart of the game in my opinion, but this one topic alone would more than double the length of this week's videos, so we will cover it in deserved depth next week. There's gang creation, management, and an incredibly deep customization in Necromunda Underhive Wars. We will include side-by-side comparisons with Mordheim, the most similar sibling title, as well as a few tips and tricks. So if you want to make sure to get the video when it's released, now would be a good time to make sure that you're subscribed and have the notification bell set. But before we move on, let's discuss the elephant in the room. Necromunda on Xbox One is, at release, buggy. Pretty darned buggy. Within the first 3 hours of starting the campaign, on 6 occasions the game either crashed, or I ran into partially loaded assets or found missing localization strings. Now, having spent the months in Focus's Mordheim Early Access, this wasn't too surprising as it launched in a similar state, and based on external observations, I'm pretty sure that they're built on the same engine and framework. I also don't doubt that the game will become more polished over time, but I was really hoping for a more mature release. Although 3 houses are available in this release, if Focus Home Interactive stays true to its history, DLC with additional houses will undoubtedly begin showing up in the future, and hopefully some new house-specific campaigns. And now please understand that this opinion is filtered through the mind of a hardcore Games Workshop devotee. But at a retail price of $39.99, it's already well worth the money and time investment for a near countless hours of play. Necromunda Underhive Wars was developed by Rogue Factor and published by Focus Home Interactive. It's out today on Xbox One consoles, PS4, and PC, and it should be noted that on the Microsoft Store the game has already been flagged as an Xbox Series X title, so next-generation support certainly seems to be in the cards. So that's the first part of our review of Necromunda Underhive Wars. If you played it, what was your experience? Please leave a comment below and let us know. Also, feel free to add any suggestions or questions. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell. It would be greatly appreciated and really helps out a lot. Thanks for watching.